Hey guys, Jack Cuddy here. Wanted to talk about the NFL. Uh, let's do it. So I'm gonna rank these teams in real time because I wanted to do that. We're gonna go in, I guess, American order, left to right, top to bottom. Stuff starting with the Cardinals. I'll update these things in real time, but I'll try to do each team justice from what I know and how I feel where they are in tiers in real time. So Arizona Cardinals, I feel like they're about C tier, in which I'm going to dub uh, potential wasted. I hate to say it. It's yellow so far. I might add columns, but I feel like this is where it belongs visually. Kyler Murray seems to be running the whole offense. That's all I know. It seems like they should be a good team on paper with Kyler Murray. I've seen like the highlights he played against Oakland several couple months back. It was quite phenomenal how he was able to abuse defenses in the goal or kind of in the red zone. But uh, I don't know. Whenever I see that team play, they always seem to just to struggle to put it together. So they have the talent. If they're not putting it together, it's got to either be coaching or just something isn't clicking. They haven't really figured it out, or I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe someone like an insider would know. But the way they're playing totally and where their current record is, I think about 4-7. I think that's proper. Next team is the Falcons. They are, I think, 5-8 last time I checked. This is not potential wasted. I actually would put them below that, which is garbage. And I'm not trying to be cheeky. They are just like they don't know how to win. Like they have, I feel like, less talent than Arizona, but I don't hear anything about them. Period. That means to me, there's nothing noteworthy about them. And then the record actually says there is nothing. 5-8. Like already, with they're not winning a lot. I know I am biased towards a certain team coming up later on, but uh, how the team is playing as a collective, I've seen it before. You know, I think we embodied it earlier for a while from the season, so we know what it looks like. But right now, like if you guys do put it together, I do think you can probably be in the B tier. But I, I'm not seeing anything yet. Um, that's the only caveat. Baltimore Ravens, I know they have a winning record, but their offense is pretty bad. I think Lamar Jackson, I don't know if he's broken at the moment or if he's been figuring it out. I don't know what's going on with the team. I just feel like if Lamar is running the offense, they should be scoring a lot more. Um, that's the bottom line. So I don't know if they're not adapting to his play style. Um, I don't know. That's all. If something's not working, something used to work before, unless everyone figured out how to play Lamar, then it seems like he's got the physical capabilities and the execution of plays to make up for certain weaknesses. So that would have to be more on coaching or whoever's. I don't know. That would again maybe that would allude to what's going on. I don't see too much. I don't want to say too little talent on their wide receiver core. A lot of potential. So I feel like they can put it together, but right now I think this B tier is, you know, kind of good. Um, yeah, kind of good. Uh, I would say that's fair. And speaking of kind of good, this is where I would actually put Buffalo as well, out of the gate. Um, no, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're low on my pretty good tier because I consider that, but they're the bottom bar and they're pretty good. I would say at the moment. Um, they are a Super Bowl contender. Their biggest weakness is Josh Allen at the moment, which is I find hilarious. But uh, I like blind hating on him. I know he's got a lot of talent. Um, but I made a promise to my neighbor that I didn't trust him, and I'm riding with that. He does remind me of Wentz a little bit with his sloppy decision making, but uh, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he'll figure it out in a few weeks. That's how it goes with quarterbacks. He's just got to figure that one out, or he doesn't, and he's Wentz. I don't know. Wentz 2.0. Overall, I don't know. Diggs is baller. What else do I know about the team? Uh, Pretty much they have what 4 or 5 playmakers at any given play, not including Josh Allen. So he when he isn't making those silly mistakes, he is pretty boom or bust. So he makes for interesting games. Um, uh, that being said, he can make up for those mistakes. So I don't think they're really ever out of a game just based off of who they are, which makes them pretty good. Um, Carolina, yeah, with the Falcons here, I would probably put them below garbage right now. Let me see if I can create a row, and we'll label it. We'll make it darker blue. Oh, we'll go pure greenish. Okay. Um, I want to say garbage. I want to say trash, but it's a slight deviation, so I don't know if I want to stick with that. I'll just talk about it and then maybe I'll come up with the name. But where they stand, the only thing I know is they have a QB carousel. Well, maybe not so much anymore because I just heard they dropped Baker, so he's out. So Carolina is, I don't know if they have 3 quarterbacks, uh, and I would say what Baker did do a decent job in Cleveland with proper coaching, but I don't know what their quarterback situation is. No, actually I know what their QB situation is. Like what PJ Walker, I'm rooting for him. He's like the XFL guy. Um, he's got some. He's got some arm talent and probably, but it seems like he's got a bit of that leadership trait in him too. But the team really is just shooting. Actually, I think the team's just kind of just shooting against the wall right now and just seeing what happens. Um, I feel like there is some talent on that team. They're just figuring it out. Um, but I want to put them past them to stumble into a win. They can score, uh, but they seem to be heavily inconsistent. So I don't know what to place some garbage yet, but I want to say mediocre. And I hate using that word, but I think that is mediocre. I think people give mediocre a bad rap, but it's because it's actually meant to be like average or something like that. And I think for an NFL team, average is like where all those mistakes are made and then you truly get penalized, like for your win record and how the team operates. That standard NFL is actually pretty harsh. Like no garbage. I mean, technically it's probably higher in any given sense, but I think with the NFL weight of a loss and how the seasons generally play out, I think that's more appropriate. I'll still figure that one out. The Bears, I put them beneath there. No, I put them above Carolina. The Bears have that boomer bust ability with Justin Fields. He's pretty much turned that offense into something more dynamic. The team, from what I've seen, can burn defenses if they're falling asleep, can expose weaknesses quickly. So I would say they're defensively always a tough matchup, and hopefully you can just take advantage of Justin Fields' inexperience while you can. I think that's kind of that would probably be the game plan in layman's terms, if you could beat him. But fact of the matter is, if you don't follow that, you are in trouble. So I want to put them at the garbage level. They lost too much in their 2 boomer busts, but late in the season they could put it together a little bit, but I'm just going based off of what I've been seeing. But I want to make that footnote. They'll probably get something going towards the end of the year. Hopefully not against what are the teams I'm talking about soon. The Bengals. The Bengals are Super Bowl ready. Or a favorite. I consider them an actual good team. Like earlier in the season, I complained more about I think we all have, like the quality of football. There weren't really too many good teams. Even Tom Brady mentioned that. But I do think there have been consistent teams overall, especially over the last like 2 months. I think the Bengals have been, I think, just world beaters. They're back to their old selves, more or less. Um, but yeah, they're just clicking again, and they're probably going to get better as the season goes on. And they have too many playmakers. Uh, Not to overhype them, like they still have some weaknesses, but they're playing pretty good. Well, they're playing pretty good ball right now, and probably the team to beat. My 2 cents at the moment. Well, I'm not looking ahead at the teams yet, but at least from what I've seen right now, that's where they rank. So Cleveland Browns, garbage. I do think no, they're not. They're above mediocre. The talent on that team and Jacoby Brissett facing a pretty tough schedule from at least what I've read, team wise, and how the teams ended up playing out. Um, did end up losing a lot of close games. They competed in several of them. However, their offense apparently, according to advanced analytics, I don't have any specific numbers I can throw, but I've seen like 5 or 6 articles, which would make me believe that their offense is relatively efficient, and I'm going to believe that because they scored 0 points on offense last week. Actually, I think 3 points. And the defense scored the other 20 or the other 3 touchdowns, which positive call out to anyone who played fantasy. Yeah, there's a team that's way worse than all these. Yeah, I was I'll hold on to the tidbit for later. Anyway, Cleveland Browns could be scary with a complete team. Their offense seemed to have taken a big step back with Jacoby. They probably would be around here, but this is real life and the decisions that they're making. So that's where they're at. Dallas Cowboys. I would be more bullish, but as I'm looking at this list, I don't know if they're above kind of good. I would put them as pretty good. I don't know if they're Super Bowl ready yet. Dallas Cowboys, when they're running on all cylinders, they are running. I actually forgot how they played last night. Let me quick look at my phone. I remember watching them at the Thanksgiving game, and they won. Dallas Cowboys. Oh yeah, a very interesting game against the Colts. That was very forgettable very quickly, but no, it was interesting for the first 3 quarters, I should say, but a beatdown is a beatdown. I will give him that. Who are they facing next? They're 9-3. I'm thinking about upgrading them in real time, so bear with me. I wasn't intending to talk about them for so long, but now my interest is peaked. Dallas Cowboys schedule. So the schedule says they face the Texans, Jaguars, and Eagles. The Eagles will be the final test. So who do they beat so far this year for me to? They beat the Giants. They're a fairly stout team. Stomped the Vikings. Okay. All right, I'm convinced. I convinced myself. I was gonna let my bias go against them, but I wanted to do that additional research. They seem to be crushing teams that I would feel like would be exposed. And actually, that's actually a pretty good trait. As I talk about the other teams coming up. So yeah, I think beating Dallas at this point would be a pretty darn good accomplishment. Remember Cooper Rush being a good stand-in, and then Dak think they've been pretty strong ever since. So okay, now, they seem to be good. Um, Moving on to the Broncos. I hear everything about Russ is cooked and everything else. Uh, I think they're eliminated from the play. Excuse me. And I think they're eliminated from the playoffs. But I think the way the whole team is playing right now, their defense is playing their heart out. They're playing like a Super Bowl caliber team, like defensively, I believe. But the offense literally cannot do anything, which to me is hilarious. Um, I'm going to say they're here. They're garbage. I was going to go way lower. They're not a team with wasted potential here. Um, if they had one more win, I would consider that. And I don't want to say that's a garbage stat, but in this case, an extra win would put them in the playoff hunt and them scrambling to make a decision to do something that would improve their standing. Because I guess the whole Russell Wilson thing is not working out and they're not scoring anything offensively. So if there's a team that can break through their defense, then they'll get exploited, and that's pretty much game. So that's that. Teams seem to be coming around like with how they've been playing offensively, and whatever they're doing isn't working. So the likelihood at this point in the season of them clicking and figuring something out isn't going to happen. But again, if they end up benching Russell Wilson, I would actually upgrade them. Not by much, but I would move them up here. Until then, this is not even. We don't even know until we know. Next team. This is where I landed. I've been saying this for a while. I'm saying. We're pretty good. That's right, boys. That's my team. I saw a game several weeks ago against the Commanders, and the Lions have a lot of ballers as far as I saw. St. Brown, Swift, Jared when he plays with swagger, he's got it. I'll say Malcolm Rodriguez. He's actually pretty solid even with the hype coming in from Hard Knocks. He's legit. So is Hutchinson. So the team is, to me, playing on all cylinders. Seemed like they were figuring it out several weeks ago. So I love it. Teams have been giving Lions like pretty much their best shot, I've noticed, like for the last couple of years. And the Lions just seem to be like the totem pole of like either bad or okay, or at least being a playoff level team. But the fact that, what is it, that stat of Campbell is 3-0 against teams that have a win average of 5+ or more victories. So like a 2-7 record, or in this case coming up, the Vikings 10-2 gets me excited. This is going to be a pretty hype matchup, and the Lions win, and if other things go in their favor, there's a shot. But yeah, Lions have a lot of playmakers, and even DJ Chark seemed to have gotten his groove back facing his old team. So hopefully that'll be a good booster, because Jaguars, everyone says they're a bad team. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they just have more weaknesses that were exposed, and I'll talk about them soon. But it was actually a pretty good matchup, and a super surprising result. And I'm a big fan, stupid fan. I've literally been listening to like YouTube podcasts like 3 hours today. Anyway, Green Bay Packers. Right here. Potential wasted. Well, I am a bit worried about that Aaron Rodgers is starting to warm up, and the team is clicking or they're still figuring it out in real time. I think it was just too little too late. And the talks of pretty much like if one game doesn't go right, um, that's another game missed to not watch Jordan Love and see how that team clicks. So, uh, we've all seen a couple flashes of it. Um, but I want to look at the Packers' schedule. I am still inclined to talk about them and their schedule because it does matter. We do face them in the last game of the season, but the next game they face the Rams and the Dolphins. Okay, so the Rams and Packers should win on paper, but I think that's actually a split. What the odds are on that? I'll go to that later. Packers versus Dolphins, that's going to be rough. And then the Vikings against Packers, and if the Vikings beat the Lions, I will consider them a Super Bowl contender. And if that's the case, then they should stomp the Packers. So I just don't see that happening, or it's very unlikely unless they put in Jordan Love right away. Could be wrong, but right now, again, the 8 losses might be a little bit too much for them right now. That's really biggest reason, because if we see Jordan Love and they win in spectacular fashion moving forward, they would certainly get a sneaky upgrade. But right here, I think they're properly placed. I don't think they're garbage. People are making jokes about them, but they're not here yet. They're not clicking. They don't know what they got so far. Very intriguing spot. Texans. Yeah. This is not. Oops. Yeah, it's fine, actually. And it's the last one. It's going to be red. No, we're going to make it black. Gray. Yeah. I'm going to call this broken. Teams that are truly lost. I want to say no identity. Not too much going with them. And so low that any team that's garbage or above, and I hate to say it, if you have the defense in fantasy, let's just say play him against this guy, unless if things change. And even then, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing right now. I don't know if there's coaching and the lack of talent. I heard things with Davis Mills. It just seems like it's just I don't know what. I'm sorry, fans. You guys got your one win out of the gate, though. Trust me, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But not as much to say. Colts. They're not kind of good. They're almost garbage. They're not mediocre. The Colts put on good game. They put on good games or interesting games for at least 3 quarters, to say the least. But I don't know how much shenanigans they can do until people get tired of them. I don't know if they're completely out of the playoff hunt. I think if I were to at least think of the Colts right now, like Matt Ryan can still get the ball out. I think what they just seem to be making is a random turnover once in a while. I could be wrong. The game's getting hazy on me. But I do think they can beat them anytime, them pretty much anytime. Like now, the way they're playing now after Saturday's hired, I think they can. Here, that's about right. They're in this tier. And I'm trying to settle and figure out what else to add. No, just a lot of my fantasy people. They're not coming through with there. Sorry, Colts. Jags. Jags are kind of good right now. I don't want to say there's potential wasted here. and they're not kind of good. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to have to add it. No. You back down. And you up. Okay. So I'm going to add a row below. Oddballs. True wild cards here. Oddballs to me are teams that showing signs of life as a team that's coming together. They're understanding why they're playing the game. They're developing something. They're figuring out what they're doing, and they're keeping their eyes set forward. Organizations that's on the outside still look like it might be chaos. Teams that are actively trying to figure it out, or at least they're trying to show it right now. When this team comes together, they're kind of good. But the Lions defense quickly showed a couple of weaknesses in Trevor Lawrence's game. I want to say weaknesses, but things he hasn't developed yet. And that's just the main thing I saw was just his ability to quickly or ability to extend plays and make more risky, I want to say, or make riskier decisions to try to get his team either back in it versus going for the safe out. That was the one thing I've noticed he does a little bit too much. But he didn't look terrible at all. It's my first time actually watching him play. So outside of like some highlights of last season, him being trash, and that was actually pretty neglectful. I wasn't high on his stock, I should say. But a team that wins a few games in a row is something worth noting, and they were kind of lukewarm for a while, playing better football. So it was actually a good matchup to test overall. But that was a glaring thing. I don't know if it's a wide receiver thing though, or just offensive line. There could be so many things going on there. But whenever they click, which is probably going to happen more often than not, they can probably play. I don't know. They could be from pretty good to losing to a team like that's broken randomly. So, yeah, dangerous, but just keep your wits about you when you face them, and you should be good. Kansas City Chiefs. I hate to see it, but they're still Super Bowl ready. I know they lost to the Bengals recently, but the Bengals have their number. They kind of know when to focus on Mahomes and key plays. Kansas City, besides that, they seem to have a better balanced attack. Just feel like game came down to a couple plays. And it's just, on these types of matchups, it really just comes down to a play or two. And kind of as the way I kind of look at this point in the season, and kind of how I want to address the ranks here is based off of how the team has been playing. And this, to me, helps rank a team based off of like how strong I believe they really are versus what a record indicates, or at least does it more graphical, terrible English, but does it in a better manner. At least if I can convey it. So, but I think Super Bowl ready teams, I think it's like 4 or 5. I think. As I continue to talk, I will probably find them, but and then a couple teams that that are playing good football, and then everyone else is still kind of kicking tires. Anyway, that's my general synopsis there. So going to the Chargers, I don't want to say they're kind of good. They're an oddball. They're a way better oddball than the Jags, but I also feel like the Chargers should be like a 10 or 11 win team. They haven't really, I don't say they haven't been exploding on offense. I know Keenan Allen recently came back. They're kind of waiting for a couple more offensive weapons to show up. But I think even in close games, it's just kind of been hit or miss in how they've kind of finished. Nothing really more. I mean, Herbert's still balling. It's just I think he's just gonna kind of get warmer towards the end, but I don't know um, if and how often they're gonna click yet. Um, so yeah, they can lose to any team. I wouldn't say they would lose to. No, in this case, probably not. Yeah, they can probably lose to them too. Yeah, they could still lose to any team, um, in any given week, but they can beat pretty much any team in any given week too, um, regardless of the record. So that's where they're at right now. They're a very strong oddball. Maybe when Mike Williams comes back and they just kind of show some McNastiness or something, then they can move up. But I feel like if they were to click, they'd actually just go from like an oddball to be pretty good. Um, they're a very dynamic team. Let's just say the least. When things click. LA Rams. I don't want to see broken. They did show some signs of life last week, so I think between the both of them, I'd say above here. All right, so the Rams, I think they're figuring it out a little bit. They are too destitute with injuries. I think their star players that actually help bring a lot of the synergy to the team are out. Stafford, Cup, even Higby to a degree. Aaron Donald, I think he's out too. I mean, they're all big name players, but they all had a good cohesive feel. And I don't know if McVay's had it, but um, I have more on LA where I think about them, but I've ranted too much about them at this point. But uh, fantasy wise, from what I know, Cam Akers does seem to be showing some helping the offense a bit. So they're going to probably lean on him to show some signs of life. Um, so yeah. Um, that being said, they still, I think they would probably lose to most teams any given week. I think they're not broken. They might figure out. They might click in the next couple of weeks, but until I show another win, I'm not moving them up. Um, so that's where they're at. That's about right. Okay. Raiders. Uh, they're an oddball team, to say the least. Um, I think they are slightly in the playoff hunt. I think they're at 5-7. Let me quick look again. So Raiders record. They're 5-7 in the AFC West. I think they're like 2.5 games out. They're not completely removed from the playoff hunt. They're 1 game behind the Chargers. That's surprising. Um, that's and 4-8. Very interesting teams with 3 different records, but I think that's fitting. The Raiders, Derek Carr is actually a pretty good quarterback. I think the team just is inconsistent overall. I don't know. Every time I think of the Raiders, I just think they can win any single game, literally here. But they can also completely implode, and I don't know why. Um, maybe things will click, but I think they've shown enough competence, and they've shown last year they can handle through a lot of adversity and play good football. And understand like at least the dynamics of the game a bit more to make up for whatever errors they have. Actually, the more I think about it, I think if they clean up several more of their mistakes like drops or fumbles and turnovers and whatnot, um, they would be kind of good. But not yet. You're an oddball right now. Figure that out. The Dolphins, you're kind of good. I think you can beat the Ravens. I think that's where you're at. I think you guys were pretty good earlier when you started in the season, admittedly. But I think you guys are kind of fumbling right now, figuring what to do with your offenses, trying to get hot towards the end of the season. I know Tua didn't have the greatest week, but I think he faced a pretty insane San Francisco team. So, yeah, I would keep them kind of good. They can probably beat most of the teams handedly and expose their weaknesses any given week. It just really depends on specific matchups. It's clear offensively that they don't have enough firepower yet to handle just interesting, more stout defenses, and not like presumed ones like the Ravens. They can show up any given week, but certain weeks where shit hits the fan, it seems like San Francisco does not allow that. Um, and a couple other teams actually kind of possess that too. So that trait. So I would put them as kind of good. The Vikings. Um, my honest opinion is between pretty good and kind of good. Uh, this could change immediately. I will give you that. Um, I think the Vikings have the ability to win against any other team, but they haven't faced strong enough opponents to either handle big plays or no, they handle big plays. They've had big games with the Bills. You know that's a pretty solid game, but um, but I feel like they haven't really recovered from that game, and uh, they're still figuring out that magic sauce. Like they're winning enough games, but I get the sense that moving forward, it's just going to be a lot tougher for them to get victories. Uh, Unless they click and actually have a dominating win, which actually makes me scared about this game. But I feel like I said, my initial gut thought wanted to go between here. So I will put you here along this team because, again, this is almost like a rock, paper, scissors scenario. Put these pretty good teams that they could beat the teams above, and they should and could have and would have beat these teams. Being teams that are pretty much destitute down here. So New England Patriots, they're kind of good. They're not outball. They're not pretty good. They're kind of good. They can beat teams that I know are above here, 2 rungs above. They can lose, but still compete to teams down over here. New England. Mac Jones seems to be pretty decent for what I've seen. I know he complained about the offense in the midweek, but the way the team's talking, it just seems like they're just figuring out how to make themselves better. And I think for most teams, they can handle it, but I think teams that are aiming to get from the playoffs, it's a little bit tougher. But one of the key things that I would actually give them a big boost for out of this whole rink is that Bill Belichick can trump almost any team with the right game plan. Like that's actually their major advantage. So any given game, because they shellac the Lions. So I feel like Patriots would shellac a couple of teams here with the right planning. So very dangerous team. Saints, on paper, they should be as dangerous as the Patriots every given week. But it just seems like the team, I don't know, did they win last week? I don't know too much. If they won any games, were in the playoff hunt, I would certainly hear about it. I would love to hear about it because I like the Saints. But it seems like, honestly, out of sight, out of mind. I think they're playing tonight. Kamara does have a dynamic offense. Actually, as I talk more about the offense, I'm going to start rating them. So they're not broken. They're certainly not mediocre. I would say potential wasted. I don't want to call them garbage either. I think they can actually beat any team beneath garbage. I don't want to say they're an oddball, but I think you're a potential wasted team. No, I feel like on paper, Taysom Hill, the games he's played, the offense was different. Regardless of the stats, like what was the record of winning? Like, honestly, that'd be more of like a playoff run type of offense to play, because it'd be so hard to face if you have something clicking. That would be, hey, Sean Payton, if you're listening, give that a shot. Run Taysom Hill the last few weeks and just see what happens. Make him like your true wild card. Because yeah, even if I have 4 wins, I think out of all like the 4-win teams, you can win out. Anyway, New York Giants, they're kind of good. They're kind of good. They know how to win. They're kind of stumbling a bit, but They've shown they can be in any game. Their offense does have a bit of an identity. They do have at least a couple of rushers in Daniel Jones and Saquon. So it's really just that, if I were them, they just got to figure out some way to utilize like their passing game in conjunction to running, um, or at least try to find a way to strengthen their running game, throw people off. But that still takes some time to implement. So if they figure it out, they're good. But that still makes them pretty scary because they're in a good spot. They've already kind of asserted themselves as a threat, which means teams actually have to play them a little bit differently, and they can't go soft because that's a team that capitalizes on their mistakes. That being said, only teams that are able to capitalize on mistakes will actually beat them. So teams with potential waist hitting coverage below, probably not. So actually, this is pretty good. I like this. Actually, I might put them a little bit higher. Take that back. They're high on my kind of good list. New York Jets. I am scared of them. I think they're pretty good. They are going to have a great couple weeks. The Jets kind of exposed the Vikings, and the Vikings kind of exposed the Jets all in the same game. Jets taking advantage of the Vikings lull and letting his name Mike White kind of not get his groove because he was actually playing pretty well all game, but kind of get back in the game. They scored many field goals. I think depending on the game, it's going to come down to probably coaching. Actually, this is the type of game. They're the type of team that just seems to play at their opponent's level or figure out how to play at their opponent's level, which makes them dangerous. But as long as they're in the game enough, they're always going to be in striking distance. Very similar to actually the Lions, and they're facing the Lions in a couple of weeks. So it'd be interesting to see how their offense continues to develop because their defense has been on point and their offense just needs to click, and it's starting to just a little bit. But hey, maybe there's just a balance in between. Maybe I don't know what, but that team has shown to be quite capable until proven otherwise at this point. So they're pretty good. They seem like a gritty team, and they will probably either hopefully get worse, but I think they're going to get better. I'm just thinking as a big stand right now. Super Bowl ready, Eagles. At this point, I would say all these four teams are Super Bowl ready. This one could change any given moment. Actually, thinking more Eagles. They're firing on all cylinders, it seems like, or their offense just seems to be a juggernaut. You can't stop them. I don't think the league will figure out how to stop them anytime soon. So you got to have to play around that. And trying to play around a team that can command a certain type of game, that's a dangerous game to play. And not many teams are probably going to be willing to play that and come out successful. So I think they're probably, they've been ready. They've been getting better. So yeah, they're great. And Steelers. It's been a while since I paid attention to you guys. I'm going to put you as an oddball because really, with Tomlin on the team, I don't make him sound like a player, but as a coach, he just knows football. He knows how to keep teams in. As long as the teams play near perfect football, you can make up for a lot of mistakes that the other teams are doing. But depending on their talent and what they're working with and figuring out their offense, they have a ways to go. So I'm pretty sure sticking to fundamentals and just that style of football is and probably will be enough to be dangerous in most weeks. So I would figure out, bottom tier. I feel like out of all the oddballs, this is the worst one. I want to say it's potential wasted. They're using what they're doing. They're figuring out stuff out. So I wouldn't call them garbage. I think they can win easily. Steelers can randomly win easily against most teams on any given week. They're they're truly odd. Seattle, they're pretty good. Um, they're pretty good so far. I wouldn't say they're Super Bowl ready. I know Geno Smith can be a beast, but Seattle's defense isn't back to what they're used to. Um, I think one of their main running backs is out. He hasn't really been playing too well, but he has been clutch in certain spots. So depending on how that dynamic changes, Seattle, I don't know how well they are at figuring out how to win more dangerous games more often than not. Um, but again, I might be underrating Seattle because they're way in the northwest. Yeah. So um, I'm dialed out, admittedly, but I think they're pretty good. Top tier, pretty good is pretty good. San Francisco, dangerous team up until a week ago. Sorry, but I think they're insanely dangerous right now. They have too many playmakers. I don't know if Garoppolo being in or out, it'll be massive. He's shown he can help make the offense run pretty consistently, and he's won a lot. He was kind of getting shaft. He got the shaft earlier in the season, big time. But he was finally able to come back and then show the team, hey, team can operate with some consistency, but you got to be healthy, man. So hopefully you can come back. But I think he's set out for the season, so that's going to hurt. But hopefully San Francisco as a team can run off of what you've helped with the team so far. And who knows, maybe the backup can make a run. Interesting. That's a story I can get behind, as much as I don't want to root for it. I think they are sneaky dangerous. I could be wrong, but I think they are sneaky dangerous. Like very dangerous. Tampa Bay Bucs. They're not a waste of potential too. The fact that they're not even kind of good. I'll rate them to where they belong here. They're not even figuring this out. I would dare say they're almost garbage, but they somehow have enough wins. I'm recording this before I think the Monday night game, so this can change. Actually, no, this is a good idea because I know they're facing. I forget who they're facing, but they essentially need a win. So now I got to double check. ESPN. New Orleans. Yeah. So this is pretty much the game for anyone to try to make any. Well, I don't want to say to make any playoff run, but if the Saints can beat them, no, stick to the topic, man. So Tampa Bay, Brady's just really just trying to figure out what the hell he's doing with his team. They just don't seem to be clicking. I don't know what the hell's going on. They should kind of be in last year's form. Maybe they're not mentally there. Maybe they're just sticking around until they figure it out, like really late in the season. But I'm leaning on. Yeah, I'm leaning on neither or. I hate this fact that they're facing each other. Because both teams can either click off each other and then actually live up to that damn potential. But this week they're not. So god damn it, I hate this. I hate this matchup. Okay, Titans. I guess they're good, but they lost bad, right? Beats me. I just know you have good enough fundamentals. You may do without Christian McCaffrey. You know how to win games. But you have flaws, I guess. Actually, I put you better than that. Yeah. I take you there. I'm putting you as kind of good. That's just how I see it. And then Washington. This one is interesting because this was a tie between these guys. These spots really shouldn't matter, but I feel like if these were head to head and I put them next to each other, where would I place them? Yeah, that's about right. Kind of good. I mean, while this was an even matchup, Heineke seems to be playing well, but I feel like both these teams are peaking at the wrong time. Or I don't feel like they're peaking. I feel like Washington might have to deal with a couple hurdles and figure things out fast to capitalize on the next matchup. Otherwise, I think New York's actually going to take it. So, yeah, that's where I think you're at. It should be interesting for the next couple of weeks. And there's my list. So, Super Bowl ready. Boom. Pretty good. Teams that I think are pretty damn good. If they were in the playoffs, they could probably make a good run, or they're just playing pretty damn good ball. And they could probably spank any team that is probably at least 2 tiers, 3 tiers below at any given moment. So, pretty good, kind of good. Oddballs. Potentially wasted. I already explained it. So, yeah, I'm going to save this. I'm going to release it. Let me know what you all think. If you want to count in order, number 1 is Eagles, 2 Bengals, 3 Dallas, 4 Kansas City, 5 San Francisco, 6 Seattle, 7 Buffalo, 8 Jets, 9 Lions. I actually said they were a top 10 team, but I didn't think I actually would stick with the number 9. And then Vikings, 10. Yeah. Let me know if I forgot something. I'll dial it in. It's clear that I do pay attention to some teams more than others, but take what you want with this. I'll probably use this for future betting purposes. Bye-bye.